Sofia slid one handwritten rule across the marble table, and Claire stopped smiling when she read it. The conference room on the 42nd floor smelled faintly of fresh coffee and polished walnut, its glass walls turning downtown Chicago into a grid of silver towers beneath the late afternoon sun. Claire Bennett sat at one end of the table with a black leather portfolio open before her, one finger resting on the corner of a rendering she had spent 6 weeks perfecting. Across from her, Sofia Reyes leaned back in a charcoal suit, the metal clasp of her watch catching the white ceiling lights every time she moved her wrist. For nearly 8 years, their names had appeared beside each other on award lists, bidding sheets, and industry articles, usually separated by words like versus, competing, or narrowly defeated. Claire had beaten Sofia for the Lakeshore Art Center. Sofia had taken the Fulton redevelopment from Claire 18 months later. Neither woman had ever congratulated the other without making it sound like a challenge. So when the hotel investors announced that the final design contract would not go to either firm individually, Claire thought she had misheard them. "We want both of you," the chairman said, closing the presentation folder with a soft thump. "One concept, one team, 6 weeks." Claire's pen stopped against the paper. Beside the windows, the ventilation system hummed steadily, cool air brushing the back of her neck. Sofia did not move for several seconds. Then she gave a short laugh. "You're serious?" "Completely." The hotel behind them was a century-old landmark overlooking the river, all limestone arches, brass elevator cages, and dark oak corridors worn smooth by generations of guests. The investors wanted its history preserved without turning it into a museum. Claire's restrained modernism and Sofia's dramatic restoration work had become the two strongest proposals. Instead of choosing, the investors had decided to force the rivals into the same room until they produced something neither could create alone. "And if we refuse?" Claire asked. The chairman gathered his papers. "Then the contract goes to the third finalist." That answer ended the argument. 2 hours later, Claire stood inside the unfinished presidential suite of the hotel, listening to the hollow click of Sofia's heels on exposed concrete. Work lights cast hard circles across stripped walls. The air carried the dry scent of plaster dust and old wood, and somewhere below them a power saw whined before stopping abruptly. Their temporary design studio occupied what would eventually become the suite's dining room. 2 drafting tables had been placed 6 feet apart. Claire stared at them. "That feels optimistic." "The 6 feet?" Sofia asked. "The assumption that one of us won't throw the other out a window." Sofia smiled without looking at her. 43 floors. Terrible for the project schedule. Claire almost laughed, which irritated her more than the joke deserved. They spent the next hour dividing responsibilities. Claire would control structural planning, guest flow, and spatial efficiency. Sofia would oversee preservation, interiors, and historical detailing. Every major decision required both signatures. Every presentation would be joint. Every failure would belong to both of them. When the last contractor left, the hotel became unnervingly quiet. Warm amber light from the temporary lamps settled over rolls of blueprints and brass hardware samples. Sofia opened her briefcase and removed a single sheet of cream stationery. She wrote something with a fountain pen, folded the page once, then pushed it across the marble sample table. Claire opened it. "No love." 2 words, written in Sofia's precise block lettering. Claire looked up. "What is this?" "Our only personal rule." "Personal." Sofia capped the pen. 6 weeks. Late nights. One project. No confusing competition with anything else. Claire studied her face, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. The radiator clicked softly behind them, releasing a faint metallic warmth into the cold room. "You think I'm going to fall in love with you?" Claire asked. Sofia's gaze stayed on hers a second too long. "I think neither of us should." Claire took the pen, signed beneath the words, and slid the page back. "Easy." Sofia folded it carefully and placed it inside her portfolio. Then, instead of leaving, she pulled the second drafting table closer until only 3 feet separated them. "Good," she said. "Because we start tonight." By midnight, Claire had moved Sofia's centerpiece 3 times, and Sofia had moved it back 4. The unfinished hotel suite glowed beneath temporary work lamps, their harsh white light reflecting off brass samples and sheets of tracing paper scattered across the marble table. A laser measure chirped against the far wall while the ventilation system pushed cool, dusty air through exposed ceiling ducts. "Your lobby wastes 12% of usable floor space," Claire said, dragging a red pencil across Sofia's plan. Sofia reached over, took the pencil from Claire's fingers, and drew a circle around the same space. "It gives guests somewhere to stop being luggage with credit cards. Hotels make money from rooms. Great hotels make people remember where they slept." Claire's mouth tightened. That sounded rehearsed. It sounded expensive. Investors like expensive. Sofia turned toward the scale model and removed one of Claire's miniature partitions. Claire immediately put it back. For the next 3 days, that became their rhythm. Claire arrived at 6:30 each morning with black coffee and revised circulation diagrams. Sofia appeared 20 minutes later carrying preservation reports and some new reason Claire's clean geometry was supposedly murdering the building's soul. They argued over corridor widths, original millwork, lighting temperatures, even whether the restored lobby should smell faintly of cedar or nothing at all. Yet every night, when contractors packed away their drills and the scent of sawdust settled over the quiet floors, their 2 drafting tables somehow ended up closer together. Neither mentioned it. Neither mentioned Sofia's folded rule inside her portfolio, either. On Thursday afternoon, the investors gathered inside the ballroom for their first progress review. Warm light poured through 12-foot windows, catching dust above the old parquet floor. Claire stood beside a projection screen while Sofia waited near the model, one hand resting against its acrylic case. Their 3rd finalist, Daniel Mercer, had been invited as an independent consultant after losing the Joint Commission, a decision Claire already disliked. Halfway through Claire's presentation, Daniel leaned forward. "There's a structural problem with that circulation plan." Claire clicked to the next rendering. "There isn't. Your West Service corridor intersects the preserved load-bearing grid." The room went still except for the low buzz of the projector. Daniel slid a printed drawing across the table. "Unless Bennett intends to remove an original support column." Claire recognized the sheet immediately. It was an early draft, discarded 2 weeks ago. She reached for it, but Sofia got there first. Her fingertips pressed flat against the paper. "Wrong revision." Daniel blinked. Sofia walked to Claire's laptop, opened the current structural overlay, and projected it across the ballroom wall. Blue lines replaced the outdated drawing. Claire rerouted the corridor 30 inches east on revision 12, Sofia said. "The column stays. The historic grid stays. And we gain 42 square feet of service access." Claire looked at her. Sofia didn't return the glance. "Anything else?" Sofia asked Daniel. He leaned back. "No, good." She handed the presentation remote to Claire. "Then let the architect finish." Claire completed the pitch without missing another beat. 20 minutes later, the investors left beneath the soft chime of the restored elevator. Claire found Sofia alone beside the ballroom windows, packing material samples into a leather case. The glass felt cold beneath Claire's fingertips when she stopped beside her. "You didn't have to do that." Sofia snapped the case shut. "Yes, I did. You could have let me take the hit. One less rival when this partnership ends." Sofia finally faced her. Golden light from the river struck one side of her face, while the other remained in shadow. "I want to beat you, Claire." She stepped closer and straightened the presentation badge Claire had unknowingly left crooked on her jacket. Her fingers withdrew immediately. "But I want to beat you when you're at your best." Claire glanced at Sofia's hand, then back at her eyes. "Careful." That almost sounded like respect. "Don't make it sentimental." Would that violate your rule? For the first time all afternoon, Sofia had no immediate answer. The elevator bell sounded behind them. Sofia picked up her case, walked 3 steps, then stopped. "Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Just you and me." Claire raised an eyebrow. Sofia looked back across the empty ballroom. "We redesigned the lobby from scratch. No investors.
No firms.
No competition." Her voice dropped slightly. Let's find out what happens when we stop trying to defeat each other. The elevator dropped 3 feet in darkness, and Sofia's hand found Claire's before either woman could pretend it hadn't. 1 second earlier, they had been standing beneath the restored brass ceiling of the hotel's service elevator, still arguing over whether the new lobby staircase should curve toward the river or remain aligned with Claire's original grid. Then the fluorescent strip above them snapped off, the cables groaned somewhere beyond the panel walls, and the car jolted hard enough to send Claire's shoulder against the cool oak railing. Sofia inhaled sharply. Not a scream, barely even a sound, but her fingers closed around Claire's wrist with surprising force. "Sofia,"
Claire said.
The emergency light flickered on near the floor, painting the elevator in a dim red glow. Dust floated through the beam. The metal walls gave off a faint smell of machine oil, and the air had suddenly become warmer, without the ventilation fan. Sofia released Claire's wrist immediately.
"I fine."
Claire looked at the illuminated floor indicator. 37. Frozen. "You're gripping the railing like it owes you money." "I said I'm fine." The elevator creaked again. Sofia's knuckles whitened against the brass rail.
Claire stopped teasing.
She pressed the emergency call button, listened to static crackle through the speaker, then crouched beside the control panel. "Building engineering will reset it." "How long?" "Probably a few minutes." Sofia nodded once, but she didn't move away from the wall. Claire had seen her face down hostile investors, union contractors, preservation boards, and rooms full of architects waiting for her to fail. She had never seen Sofia count her breaths.
"For in."
"Hold." "For out." The red light caught the edge of Sofia's watch as her fingers tightened around the strap. Claire stood and crossed the narrow space between them. "Look at me." Sofia's eyes lifted. Don't what?" "Turn this into something." Claire's voice softened. "I'm trying to keep you from staring at a floor indicator that isn't changing." Another metallic knock sounded overhead. Sofia shut her eyes. Claire held out her hand. She didn't touch her. She simply left it there between them. Take it or don't. For 3 seconds, Sofia stayed perfectly still. Then her hand slid into Claire's. Her palm was cool despite the trapped warmth inside the elevator. Claire closed her fingers carefully, not squeezing, not pulling. Just there. Sofia opened her eyes. "You're going to enjoy this forever." "Absolutely." "I hate you." "That sounds healthier." A reluctant breath of laughter escaped Sofia, quiet and uneven. The tension in her grip loosened. Claire leaned her shoulder against the wall beside her, their hands still joined between them. "Tell me about the staircase." Sofia stared at her. "Seriously? You've spent all night telling me my design is emotionally bankrupt. Continue." Sofia swallowed, then looked toward the dark ceiling as if she could see the lobby above them. "The curve makes people slow down." "That's inefficient. People aren't circulation diagrams, Claire." "You keep saying that like it's profound. And you keep listening." Claire turned her head. In the emergency glow, Sofia was already looking at her. The space between them seemed smaller than it had 30 seconds earlier. No sarcasm arrived to fill it. No drawing sat between them. No investor waited for a decision. Only the faint tick of cooling metal and Sofia's thumb resting motionless against the side of Claire's hand. Then the lights snapped back on. Both women blinked. The ventilation fans surged overhead, pushing cool air through the car, and the elevator began climbing as if nothing had happened. Sofia pulled her hand away. By the time the doors opened on 43, she had already stepped out. Claire followed her into the unfinished corridor, where work lamps cast long shadows across exposed studs and fresh plaster. "Sofia." She stopped beside the doorway to their temporary studio. Claire waited until Sofia turned. "You don't have to act like that didn't happen." Sofia glanced toward the 2 drafting tables standing 3 feet apart. Then she looked back at Claire. "Actually, I do." "Why?" Sofia's jaw shifted once. She crossed the room, opened her leather portfolio, and removed the folded cream stationery from the first night. The paper made a dry whisper as she unfolded it on the marble table. "No love." Claire said nothing. Sofia placed 1 finger beneath the words. "Remember the rule." "I remember."
"Good."
Sofia folded the page again, but her hand remained on it for a moment longer than necessary. Then she picked up her coat and headed for the door. Claire watched her reach the corridor before speaking. "You were the one who took my hand." Sofia stopped. The silence stretched between them beneath the hum of the temporary lights. She didn't turn around. "That," she said quietly, "is exactly why we need the rule." Claire found Sofia's name beneath a 7-year-old sketch, and suddenly their rivalry had a beginning. The discovery came Monday morning in the hotel's original records room, where Claire had gone looking for archived measurements of the lobby's west wall. Fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead, washing steel shelves in pale light, while the dry smell of old paper mixed with fresh sawdust drifting under the door from renovations upstairs. She pulled a cardboard portfolio from a shelf marked Preliminary Concepts and carried it to the scarred oak work table. Inside were surveys, rejected floor plans, and early redevelopment proposals. Then one drawing stopped her hand. A sweeping staircase curved toward the river-facing windows. The lobby opened around it in warm, human proportions instead of rigid corridors. Claire knew that curve. Sofia had drawn almost the same gesture 3 nights earlier. At the bottom corner, faded pencil remained visible beneath an old approval stamp. Sofia Reyes, Associate Designer. Claire stared at the date. 7 years ago. Her fingers moved to the next sheet. The geometry changed, but the central idea remained familiar. Painfully familiar. Claire's own award-winning Lakeshore Arts Center had used a similar circulation concept 2 years later, after her former firm acquired consultation materials from the company where Sofia had worked. Claire had never seen these drawings, but Sofia apparently had. The records room door opened behind her. "What are you doing?"
Claire turned.
Sofia stood beneath the fluorescent light holding 2 coffee cups, but her gaze had locked onto the drawing. One cup slowly lowered. "I needed the original west wall dimensions." Claire tapped the archive folder. "I found this instead." Sofia placed both coffees on a shelf. Cardboard scraped softly beneath them. "Put it back. You designed this. Part of it. Before Lakeshore." Sofia crossed the room and reached for the sheet. Claire kept one hand on its edge. Neither pulled. "Is this why you hated me?"
Claire asked.
"Don't flatter yourself. 7 years, Sofia. Let go." "Did you think I stole it?" Sofia's eyes finally met hers. The radiator clicked against the far wall, sending a pulse of dry heat through the cramped room. "I watched your firm present Lakeshore," Sofia said. "I watched people applaud an idea I had spent 9 months developing. Then I watched you accept the award." Claire released the paper. Sofia slid it into the folder with precise movements. "I didn't know. That was the problem. Then why didn't you confront me?" Sofia gave a small, humorless laugh. "You were Claire Bennett. Rising star. Magazine covers.
Keynotes.
I was an associate whose name disappeared before the final submission." She closed the portfolio. What exactly was I supposed to say? Claire reached for the folder before Sofia could return it to the shelf. "Say it now." Sofia's hand tightened around the cardboard. "Why?" "Because we're designing another lobby together, and I'm not spending the next month wondering whether every argument between us started 7 years ago. Maybe some of them did. Then stop hiding behind competition." Sofia went still. Claire pulled the folder free, carried it upstairs, and 20 minutes later placed Sofia's original sketch beside their current lobby model. Warm construction lights illuminated the cream paper. Somewhere down the corridor, a nail gun cracked twice, sharp against the muffled jazz playing from a contractor's radio. Claire picked up a drafting knife. Without asking permission, she removed the straight staircase from her own model. The piece came loose, with a brittle snap. Sofia stared at the empty space. Claire set the discarded section aside and placed tracing paper over the model base. "Show me your curve." "Claire, not the hotel's. Not mine. Yours." Sofia didn't move. Claire pushed her mechanical pencil across the table. "You wanted me at my best. Fine. I want the same thing." Sofia looked from the pencil to Claire. "You can't fix what happened by giving me a staircase." "I know." Claire stepped away from the model, surrendering the position at its center. but I can stop pretending I'm the only architect in this room worth listening to. For once, Sofia had nothing sharp ready. She picked up the pencil. Graphite whispered across tracing paper as she drew one clean arc toward the river. Claire watched the line appear. Sofia stopped halfway and looked up. If we do this, you don't get to call it mine later. Claire moved beside her and placed her own pencil at the unfinished end of the curve. No, she extended Sofia's line across the plan. We call it ours. Sofia's gaze dropped to where the two graphite lines met. Then she quietly reached into her portfolio, touched the folded cream page containing their rule, and instead of taking it out, closed the portfolio again. The investor's email erased 3 weeks of trust with one sentence. Their confidential lobby plans had reached a competing developer. Claire read it twice beneath the cold glow of her laptop, then turned the screen towards Sofia. Around them, the unfinished presidential suite had gone silent for the night. Only the ventilation ducts whispered overhead, and the sharp scent of fresh-cut oak lingered beside stacked flooring samples. Sofia set down her pencil. Who had access? According to them, you, me, the investor team, and Daniel as outside consultant. Claire closed the laptop. They've suspended tomorrow's design review. Sofia's chair scraped against concrete. Then we get it reinstated.
How?
Sofia crossed to the marble table and pulled their working drawings into one stack. By proving neither of us leaked them. Claire watched her. 3 weeks ago, she would have started by asking whether Sofia was lying. Tonight, she simply stood. Where do we start? That changed Sofia's expression more than any accusation could have. They spent the next hour reconstructing their workflow instead of hunting for some dramatic culprit. Claire checked the project's shared access log while Sofia compared every leaked image against their revision history. The room filled with the click of keys, the rustle of vellum, and the bitter smell of coffee reheated once too often. Wait. Sofia enlarged one leaked rendering on Claire's monitor. Look at the staircase. Claire leaned closer. The image showed Sofia's curve toward the river, but the handrail was wrong. Square profile. Revision 14, Claire said. We changed that Friday. Exactly. The leaked package wasn't taken today. Sofia pulled a printed transmittal sheet from their project binder. It came from Thursday's review set. Claire scanned the distribution list. Daniel had received that package along with the investors. She reached for her phone. Sofia caught her wrist. The contact lasted less than a second before Sofia released her. Don't accuse him yet. Claire glanced at the place Sofia had touched, then back at her. I wasn't going to. You absolutely were.
Fine.
What's your better idea? Sofia picked up both coats. We make the leak useless. 40 minutes later, they were downstairs in the lobby, standing beneath temporary amber lamps, while the river beyond the windows reflected broken ribbons of city light. The air near the entrance carried a February chill each time contractors opened the service doors, and the unfinished limestone floor felt gritty beneath Claire's shoes. Sofia placed their scale model on a plywood table. If someone has revision 14, she said, we give the investors revision 17. Claire understood immediately. They worked until nearly 2 a.m. Claire rerouted guest circulation around Sofia's staircase, while Sofia opened the restored sight line toward the river. They removed 2 partitions, shifted the reception desk 14 feet, and turned an awkward waiting area into a brass-framed lounge beneath the original ceiling medallions. Neither defended territory anymore. Sofia would draw half a line. Claire would finish it. Claire would reject a measurement. Sofia would already be reaching for the laser measure. At 1:47, they stood shoulder to shoulder before the revised model. That's better than mine, Claire said. Sofia looked at her. Which part? All of it. Careful. A faint smile appeared. You're becoming tolerable. Claire picked up a miniature brass staircase and placed it into the model. Don't confuse professional growth with affection. Sofia's gaze stayed on her for a beat. Wouldn't dream of it. At 9 the next morning, they walked into the investors' conference room together. Cool daylight flashed across the glass table. Espresso and printer toner scented the air. Instead of defending themselves separately, Claire connected her laptop while Sofia uncovered the rebuilt model. The leaked drawings are obsolete, Claire said. Sofia advanced the first rendering, and whoever distributed them accidentally forced us to solve weaknesses we hadn't seen. The chairman studied the new lobby in silence. Then he leaned forward. This is the strongest work either of you has submitted. Claire looked toward Sofia. Sofia was already looking back. The suspended review was restored before noon, but Claire barely remembered the chairman's final remarks. What stayed with her was the walk back upstairs, when Sofia reached their studio first and opened the leather portfolio containing the folded cream roll. She stared at it, then closed the portfolio without checking the words. Claire placed her coffee beside Sofia's drafting table. You didn't remind me. Of what? You know what? Sofia slowly removed her coat. Maybe I'm tired of being the only one who remembers. Claire's fingers stopped against the coffee lid. Sofia pulled her drafting table the remaining 3 feet across the concrete until its edge touched Claire's. The legs screeched loudly through the empty suite. Then she sat down on Claire's side of the joined tables. From now on, Sofia said, opening their shared plans between them, nobody gets between us. The storm sealed the hotel doors at 11:17 p.m., leaving Claire alone upstairs with the woman who had invented their rule. Wind rattled the 43rd floor windows while sleet clicked against the glass like handfuls of gravel. Inside their temporary studio, amber work lamps warmed the exposed plaster walls, and the air smelled of cedar samples, cold coffee, and the faint mineral dust that still coated the concrete floor. Claire lowered her phone. Lakeshore Drive is barely moving. Building security says we should stay until the road's clear. Sofia looked through the window at headlights crawling beside the river. So much for going home. You could sleep in the model suite, on furniture selected for appearance rather than human anatomy. Sofia opened a cabinet beneath the sample counter and produced a bottle of Cabernet left from an investor reception. I'd rather risk the floor. 20 minutes later, the blueprints had been pushed aside. 2 paper cups sat between them because nobody had remembered wine glasses, and the storm had erased most of Chicago beyond the windows. The radiator released uneven bursts of metallic heat. Sofia sat on the edge of the joined drafting tables, sleeves rolled to her elbows, turning the paper cup slowly between her palms. Claire remained opposite her. Why architecture? Sofia asked. That sounds dangerously personal. We've redesigned 70,000 square feet together. I know how you think about walls. I don't know why you started drawing them. Claire ran her thumb along the rough seam of her cup. Because buildings obey. Sofia's eyebrow lifted. That explains so much. Claire almost smiled. A line is where you put it. A load goes where the calculations say. If something fails, there's a reason.
And people?
Terrible building materials. Sofia laughed, and the sound carried strangely in the unfinished room. Then she looked down at her wine. I used to think winning would fix everything. Claire waited. After Lakeshore, I decided nobody would ever overlook me again. Sofia continued. Every pitch became a fight. Every award had to prove something. She rubbed a thumb across a small scratch in the tabletop. Eventually, I couldn't remember who I was proving it to. Claire reached behind her, took the Lakeshore Archive sketch from a protective sleeve, and laid it between them. Then stopped proving it. Sofia stared at the drawing. Claire picked up a pencil and wrote beneath Sofia's faded signature, Original Concept, Sofia Reyes. Claire. When this project opens, the design record will be accurate. You don't owe me that. I'm not paying a debt. Claire set down the pencil. I'm telling the truth. Outside, a gust struck the windows hard enough to make both women glance toward the glass. When Claire looked back, Sofia had moved closer. Only the width of the old sketch separated them. Sofia's fingers rested beside Claire's on the paper. You make this difficult, Sofia said. Architecture. The rule. The radiator clicked off. Without its noise, the room seemed suddenly too quiet. Claire could hear the soft scrape of Sofia's paper cup settling on marble. Sofia's gaze moved to Claire's face and stayed there. Claire did not retreat. You made it, she said. I know. You keep reminding me. I know. Sofia leaned closer, slowly enough that Claire could have stepped away.
She didn't.
The amber lamp caught tiny gold flecks in Sofia's brown eyes. Claire felt the cool edge of the drafting table against her palm and heard sleet ticking against the windows behind them. Sofia stopped inches away. Her breath caught. Then she closed her eyes and stepped back. No, Claire remained still. Sofia crossed to her leather portfolio, opened it, and removed the cream page. The fold had softened from being handled too many times. "No love" remained written across the center, Claire's signature beneath it. Sofia held the paper with both hands. "This," she said, quieter now, "is exactly why I made it. Because you thought I'd break it?" Sofia looked at her. For several seconds, there was only wind and the distant hum of emergency lighting. Then Sofia folded the page carefully.
No, Claire.
She placed it back inside the portfolio. "Because I was afraid I would." Sofia's name appeared beneath the leak accusation, and Claire's hand froze inches above the conference room table. Morning sunlight cut through the glass walls in hard white bands, flashing across chrome chair legs and the untouched coffee service. The room smelled of espresso and warm printer paper. Across from Claire, the chairman pushed a stapled report toward her. "The Access Review points to Reyes." Claire read the highlighted lines. "Sofia's credentials. Thursday's review package." A timestamp showing the files had been exported from an account assigned to her. "That doesn't prove she sent anything. It proves enough for us to suspend her." A second document slid across the glass. Claire didn't touch it. "What's that?" "A revised agreement. You finish the project alone. Full design credit. Full fee." The air conditioning hummed above her. Claire stared through the glass wall toward the river, then back at Sofia's name. "And if I refuse?" "We reconsider the commission." 20 minutes later, Claire found Sofia in their 43rd floor studio. Pale winter light filled the unfinished room, and the smell of cedar rose from newly opened flooring crates. Sofia was adjusting the lobby model, her mechanical pencil tucked behind one ear. Claire placed the report beside her hand. Sofia read the first page. The pencil dropped onto the concrete with a small plastic click. "You believe this?" Claire didn't answer quickly enough. Sofia looked up. "Claire, tell me why your account exported the files." "I don't know. You told me nobody gets between us." "And nobody has." "Then explain it." Sofia pushed the report away. "I can't explain something I didn't do. They offered me the contract." Silence swallowed the room. A circular saw started several floors below, its thin mechanical whine traveling through the exposed structure. Sofia slowly removed the folded cream page from her portfolio and set it beside the accusation. "Of course they did. I haven't signed anything. But you came here asking me to prove myself first." Claire's jaw tightened. "What am I supposed to do with evidence carrying your credentials?" Sofia stepped around the table. "You're supposed to know the woman who spent 3 weeks building this beside you." She tapped the model between them. "The woman who defended you when Daniel tried to embarrass you. The woman who trusted you with the work you benefited from 7 years ago." Her finger moved toward the folded rule, but stopped before touching it. "The woman who told you last night exactly why that stupid piece of paper exists." Claire lowered her voice. "This isn't about that." Sofia gave one short laugh. "It became about that the second you looked at a timestamp and decided it knew me better than you did." She gathered her sketchbook and laptop. Claire caught the edge of the leather portfolio before Sofia could close it. "Don't walk away." Sofia looked at Claire's hand.
Why?
"Because you're ordering me not to." "Because I'm asking you." "Then answer one question." Sofia's voice dropped beneath the distant machinery. "Do you think I leaked those plans?" Claire looked at the report. 1 second passed. Then another. Sofia nodded before Claire spoke. "There it is." "Sofia, keep the contract." Sofia pulled the portfolio free. The cream rule slipped out and landed between them, opening along its worn fold. "No love." Claire's signature sat beneath the words. Sofia stared at it, then left it on the table. "Apparently, that's the only agreement between us you were willing to trust." The elevator doors closed behind her before Claire reached the corridor. By noon, Sofia's drafting table was empty. Her material samples were gone. The chair beside Claire's stood pushed neatly beneath the joined work surface, leaving a clean rectangle in the dust where Sofia's portfolio had rested every day. Claire returned downstairs, with the investor agreement in her hand. The chairman uncapped a pen and turned the signature page toward her. Claire looked at the blank line, then at the glass doors reflecting her alone. She picked up the pen and snapped it shut. No, the chairman frowned. Excuse me? Claire pushed the contract back across the table. If Sofia Reyes is off this project, so am I. She stood, taking the accusation report with her. You have 48 hours before the final board review, he warned. Claire opened the door. Then I have 48 hours to prove you accused the wrong woman. Claire placed her resignation letter beside the evidence and watched every investor in the room stop moving. Cold morning light poured through the 42nd floor windows, turning the glass conference table almost white, while the espresso machine hissed behind the closed service door. The chairman looked first at the letter, then at Claire. What exactly are you doing? Claire connected her laptop to the wall display. Correcting my mistake. The screen filled with the access report that had been used against Sofia. Claire had spent most of the previous night with the hotel's project administrator reconstructing the permissions attached to Thursday's review package. She didn't need a new mystery. She needed to look properly at what had already been in front of them. Sofia's account exported the file, Claire said. But her account wasn't restricted to Sofia. She enlarged the project permissions. Daniel Mercer's consultant credentials had inherited temporary administrative access during the review. The same access had been removed Friday morning. The export happened from the conference room workstation while Sofia and I were upstairs with contractors. Daniel shifted in his chair. Leather creaked beneath him. Claire clicked once more. The display showed the workstation login record beside the review calendar. Daniel signed into that room 12 minutes before the export. The chairman turned toward him. Daniel's face hardened. That proves I used a computer. Correct, Claire said. Which is more than you ever proved about Sofia. She closed the laptop. You suspended her on an assumption. I helped you do it by doubting her. I won't make that mistake twice. Daniel started speaking, but the chairman raised a hand. Claire didn't stay to hear the argument. She slid her resignation letter closer to the investors. Restore Sofia to the project with equal credit, or accept that letter. Then she walked out. An hour later, the board reinstated Sofia. Claire found her that evening in the unfinished lobby. The temporary work lights had been replaced by several newly installed brass sconces, their amber glow spreading across restored limestone and polished sections of dark oak. The air smelled of varnish and fresh plaster. Sofia stood alone beside the curved staircase model, her coat still buttoned. They called me, she said. Claire stopped 6 feet away. I should have believed you before I had proof. Yes. I should have answered your question immediately. Yes. Claire nodded. I'm sorry. Sofia looked toward the river windows. Traffic moved beyond them in ribbons of red and white. You gave up the contract. I gave them a choice. You could have lost everything. Not everything. Sofia turned. Claire took the folded cream page from her coat pocket. She had picked it up from their studio after Sofia left. The paper was worn soft along its crease. This was supposed to protect us, Claire said. I think it mostly gave us somewhere to hide. Sofia's eyes dropped to the words. Give it to me. Claire crossed the remaining distance and placed the page in her hand. Sofia unfolded it. No love. Claire's signature still sat beneath the rule. For several seconds, Sofia simply stared at it. Then she laughed once under her breath. I wrote this before our first night working together. I remember. Do you know why? Claire waited. Sofia folded the page halfway, stopped, then opened it again. Because I already knew you were dangerous to me. Claire's breathing changed, barely audible beneath the distant buzz of a floor polisher. Sofia stepped closer. Not because I thought you'd fall for me. Her voice softened. Because every time I competed against you, I noticed too much. The way you tap your pencil twice before defending an idea. The way you pretend not to smile when you know I'm right. The fact that I could walk into a room with 50 architects and know exactly where you were without looking. Claire's hand tightened around the edge of the model table. Sofia, I made the rule because I knew which one of us was already losing. Sofia tore the cream page slowly down the center. The sound was small, almost delicate. She let both halves fall onto the table. And I'm tired of pretending I made it in time. Claire looked from the torn paper to her. What are you saying? Sofia closed the last inch between them. That I fell for my rival before she ever signed my ridiculous rule. Then Sofia lifted one hand to Claire's cheek, gave her every chance to move away, and kissed her softly. It lasted only a moment, warm and certain beneath the amber lights. Sofia stepped back first. Claire stared at her. Sofia glanced at the torn rule between them and finally smiled. Looks like I broke it first. 3 months later, Claire found the old rule framed beside the hotel's opening night guest book. The restored lobby shimmered beneath warm brass chandeliers, their light sliding across polished limestone and the sweeping staircase Sofia had first drawn years ago. A string quartet played near the river windows, soft notes mixing with the clink of champagne glasses and the low murmur of guests. The air carried cedar from the restored millwork and fresh, white lilies from arrangements lining the reception desk. Claire stopped in front of the frame. Inside were the 2 torn halves of the cream page, carefully aligned but deliberately not repaired. "No love" still crossed the center. Her signature remained underneath. "You framed evidence of your terrible judgment." Sofia's voice came from behind her. Claire turned. Sofia wore a midnight blue suit, one hand holding 2 champagne glasses. The opening had officially credited them as co-designers, their names engraved side by side on a brass plaque near the entrance. Claire Bennett plus Sofia Reyes. Equal size. Equal placement. Claire accepted a glass. "Your terrible judgment. You signed it. Under professional duress." Sofia smiled. "You laughed when you signed it. I was younger then. It was 3 months ago." Claire touched her glass to Sofia's. "Architecture ages people." Across the lobby, the chairman raised a hand toward them. Guests gathered beneath the staircase for the formal dedication. Claire and Sofia walked over together, their footsteps clicking across stone they had once argued about replacing. The chairman thanked the contractors, preservation team, and investors before turning toward them. "This building exists because 2 architects who were very good at competing discovered they were better at collaborating." Sofia leaned toward Claire. "That's the polite version. The real version requires stronger drinks." Applause filled the lobby. Sofia's shoulder brushed Claire's, and this time neither woman moved away. Later, after the final guests disappeared through the revolving doors and the quartet packed away its instruments, Claire and Sofia climbed to the 43rd floor. Their old temporary studio had become the finished presidential suite. Where drafting tables once stood on bare concrete, an oak dining table now rested beneath a sculptural pendant light. The room smelled faintly of leather and new wood. Chicago glittered beyond the glass, and the radiator that had clicked through so many late nights had been replaced by silent climate control. "Something's missing," Claire said. Sofia opened her leather portfolio. She still carried the same one. From inside, she removed another sheet of cream stationery. Claire laughed. "Absolutely not. Read it." Sofia placed it on the table. Claire unfolded the page. Rule number 1. "No love" had been written at the top, then crossed out with one decisive black line. Beneath it, Sofia had added, "No more rules that make us lie." Claire looked up. "That's extremely sentimental for you." "I blame my collaborator." "Former rival." Sofia considered that. "Still rival." "Excuse me? I'm submitting against you for the National Design Award." Claire set down the paper. "You're going to lose." "There she is." Sofia picked up her coat, and Claire followed her toward the elevator. 6 months after that opening night, they combined their separate practices into one studio overlooking the Chicago River. They still argued over staircases. Sofia still accused Claire of treating people like circulation diagrams, and Claire still claimed Sofia could turn choosing cabinet hardware into a philosophical debate. Awards appeared on opposite shelves because neither agreed whose belonged higher. But the Lakeshore sketch hung between them, now properly credited to Sofia, beside a photograph of the hotel lobby they had designed together. And every morning, Whoever arrived first put coffee on the other woman's desk. On the anniversary of the night they began the hotel project, Claire returned home to find Sofia at their kitchen counter beneath the warm pendant lights, holding the original framed rule. The apartment smelled of basil and toasted bread, and an old jazz record turned softly in the next room. "Why did you bring that home?" Claire asked. Sofia turned the frame around. She had added one final line beneath Claire's old signature, broken first by Sofia Reyes.
Claire laughed.
"You're proud of that?" "Very." Claire took the frame from her and added another line with a pen lying beside it. "Never reinstated by Claire Bennett." Sofia read it, then looked at her. Claire set down the pen and took Sofia's hand, the same hand that had reached for hers inside a dark elevator months earlier. The rivalry had given them a reason to fight. The rule had given them somewhere to hide, but Sofia had broken it first, and Claire spent every day afterward making sure neither of them ever needed it again.